Today is July 2nd, 2025, and welcome to the 444th episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of this show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility info on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you so much for joining me today. Glad you're back. Glad I'm back. As usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. Before we get to that, though, I do want to read off an email that I got from superfan Elio Campitelli. They responded to my recent coverage of Lies of P Overture, and let me get to that right now. Elio says, "Hi Brad, I was repeatedly dying in a particularly obnoxious section of Lies of P Overture and wanted to say that you are not wrong about the issues with enemies cornering the player." And by the way, just a quick side note, if anybody wants to write in and let me know that I am not wrong, or better yet, that I am right, please do. I have no problem with that whatsoever. You can just send me any messages and just say, "Brad, you've got it correct," and I'll be like, "Thank you very much. Appreciate that." Any messages along those lines, totally welcome. Elio's letter continues. "While Lies of P's level design never was outstanding, I believe it really went downhill in this DLC. I don't know what happened, but the devs seem to have forgotten that one of the things that makes these hard games bearable is that once you've gone through a level, you can run back to where you die relatively quickly by ignoring enemies and knowing where to go. Except that Overture is chock full of areas made up of extremely narrow corridors filled with very aggressive enemies with a big aggro range. One consequence is that in many cases you physically can't run past enemies and are forced to deal with them every time. Another is that it's very easy to get surrounded by enemies in small spaces without a lot of room to maneuver. The greenhouse is the first area with that problem, and from then on it's a constant issue that I don't remember having in the main game. I'm having fun with the DLC so far, but this single aspect is really souring an otherwise great experience." Elio, thank you so much for writing in. It's always good to hear from you, my friend, and thank you for listening to the show. I truly appreciate you being out there. And yeah, I basically agree. I noticed it pretty clearly when I was playing through Lies of P that there were a couple of choke points that I don't remember there being that many of. And in fact, I just watched my wife replay the main content of Lies of P, and it's interesting how different it seemed. There definitely was a change in the development. In Lies of P, the base game, lots of places where you can run through. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were a couple choke points. I mean, I'm not saying that that is solely in the DLC, but the frequency of them, I think, is thicker. Also, I noticed that in the original base game of Lies of P, many enemies are slower, and it's much easier to get around their backs. I was watching my wife circle around and dodge around and get behind people to do backstabs pretty often in the core campaign, and then when she got to the DLC, that just isn't a thing anymore. Not only is it harder to get behind people, but when you do get behind them, the backstabs don't often materialize, like the opportunities don't materialize like they used to. You would wait to see like the little indicator, like 3 slash lines would appear on their back to let you know, the player, that they are ready for a backstab. I barely saw it at any point during the DLC, and I did not see it when my wife was doing it either. And that was kind of a main tactic that we used in the core campaign, so it was interesting to see that they really curtailed that quite a bit. So yeah, I agree with you, and I'm glad that you are, kind of corroborating my experience. Also, the same thing about getting caught in a corner. The enemies are much more aggressive in the DLC and Overture, and I don't necessarily think that's always a good thing. I don't mind having a couple of enemies who are like more after you, but many of the bosses are super aggressive, and many of the enemies are just applying constant pressure, which can be used to create a mood or a specific vibe in an area, but it was pretty consistent all the way through, and so I don't necessarily think that you want your enemies tuned to be that aggressive all the time. So yeah, on the same page as you, Elio, for sure. So thank you very much for writing in. Definitely agreed. I love people telling me that I'm right. That's one of my favorite things. And hopefully you'll be able to finish the DLC without further issue. It's got a couple of tough spots in there, but hang tight. Let me know what you think when you finish up. And to anybody else who's listening, I do have a full written, well, I guess a transcript review of the score that I gave Lies of P Overture. It's up on GameCritics.com in case you missed that podcast, or you can go back to the podcast. from 1 or 2 episodes ago and hear my take on it in real time if you wish. So coverage is there. Overall, I think it's a really great DLC, and I really do like Lies of P quite a bit, but this is just a little bit of a bump in that particular road. Anyway, thanks again, Elio. Always good to hear from you. And if anybody else would like to write in, please feel free. I'm gearing up to do a question show soon, and I'm also always happy to get comments or thoughts or ideas or just anything at all. Anything at all, hit me up. All right, moving on here. Heads up that there is new DLC for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. It's called Lex Imperialis. It adds about 15 to 20 hours of new content. I'm not sure exactly what's in there. I have not wanted to spoil myself because I love Rogue Trader. I've talked about it, I feel like I've talked about it endlessly on this podcast. If you have not played Rogue Trader, you are missing out. Not only is it one of the best 40k games ever created, like all told, it's an excellent RPG. It reminds me a little bit of like Baldur's Gate, but set in the 40k universe. And you do not need to be like a 40k devotee in order to enjoy this game. I think the mechanics are great. The combat is kind of like turn-based tactics, which is really solid. Lots of different characters. Great writing. Lots of funny situations. Lots of interesting things that crop up. Lots of subsystems. You can like colonize planets, and you can have space battles. And there's the turn-based tactics, and there's all sorts of other stuff in there too. Lots of characters to choose from. You can do like party management and everything. So it's got like a little bit of everything, and it really is a wonderful leveraging of the 40k universe. Just fantastic stuff. And if you're a fan, well, you're like a pig in shit then. It's just like that much better for you. So Rogue Trader is absolutely the bee's knees for sure. And I will be checking out Lex Imperialis. There's also a previous DLC which I was sent a code for. Thank you to PR for sending me that code. But got to be honest, I just haven't had time to get back to it. I think I sunk 50 or 60 hours into the main campaign of Rogue Trader. Did not finish it. I don't think I was even close to finishing it. It's a pretty big game, but I mean, excellent all the way through. Excellent all the way through. Got the DLC, didn't have time for it. I paid cash money for Lex Imperialis because I felt bad about not covering the previous DLC. So I still want to support the team. So bought that. And I'm going to get back to it soon. I feel like once I get a couple things wrapped up, I think maybe once I finish my time with Death Stranding 2, I think maybe I'll be ready for something bigger to kind of like keep on the back burner in between other review games. So I'll probably get back to it soon. But heads up, Rogue Trader is amazing. And if you have played Rogue Trader, you know how good it is. And if you want more of it, Lex Imperialis just dropped another 15, 20 hours of a game that's nothing but good so far. So definite thumbs up and excited to crack into that. A couple more things for housekeeping here. Unfortunately, I think we're going to end on a down note. The first one is The Alters. I just raved about this game last episode and maybe even the episode before that. I love The Alters. I had a wonderful time playing it. This is the sci-fi resource management and clone management game coming from 11-Bit Studios, who also did Frostpunk, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And The Alters is amazing. Had a great time with it. Unfortunately, they have been rocked by a little bit of scandal. So there are numerous articles on this. I'm not going to get into like all the absolute specifics, but basically people who were playing The Alters, number one, they noticed that there was some weird looking placeholder text that they thought was fishy. And when they took a closer look at it, they believe that it's done by AI. The other piece of disturbing news is that when the game released in other territories, people who were playing in different languages, I believe Portuguese was one of them. I'm not sure what the other one was. But they were saying that there were it was a really, I guess, weird or off translation, and that there were some, what they believe to be AI prompts left in the script. And so that really raised alarm bells right off the bat. AI in games is an extremely hot button topic right now. If you listen to this podcast, you know I am not in favor of generative AI. Speaking of generative AI, in the sense of you say, hey, ChatGPT, give me a sci-fi script and it pops something out. Or you say, hey, give me a picture of a Martian landscape with aliens and the women have to have 3 breasts and give me that picture and it pops out. So generative AI is what I am against. And I think most people in creative fields are against. There are certain applications of AI or different forms of AI that I think are fine and that can be legitimately used as tools to help creative people. But I'm really struggling to see the value or the ethical justification for generative AI. Anyway, while using generative AI is a problem in and of itself, the bigger issue, and I think the thing that's riling more people up, is that there was no AI disclaimer. So when a game releases on Steam, I believe it is their policy that if you use any kind of AI whatsoever, you have to disclose that on the store page, and there was no disclosure about that. I'm not sure what the disclosures are for Xbox Store or PSN or for Switch. I don't know if they require it the same way that Steam does, or maybe if Steam is the most strict, but regardless, they disclosed no AI whatsoever. And so when they were accused of this, or I'm not sure that I want to say they were caught by this, but when people have brought it to their attention, they went quiet for a minute. They just released a statement yesterday, an official statement saying, oopsie, our bad. They're like, as far as the image goes, that was a AI placeholder image that should have been replaced. That was a mistake. And they showed in the game where it was. It's like a background TV screen that's on, or a monitor that's got some text on it. It's really hard to read. You could probably walk by it 10,000 times and never know it was there. I'm not sure what drove somebody to zoom in really close on it, because I walked by it 1,000 times and it never really set off any alarm bells for me. And they said also that they usually do human translations for their games, which I believe, because honestly, let's just be real here. Even before AI was a thing, or generative AI, 11-bit studios were making really deep, complex games with great stories. This War of Mine came out before AI was a thing, and that's a great game. I'm going to probably replay that one soon. And also Frostpunk, that came out before AI was a thing. Incredible storytelling, great characters, great writing. So I don't think that this team is incapable. I don't think this is a case of them not being able to do the work, but they said that for the translation, something happened and they got really close to the wire and they decided to stick an AI translation in the game rather than release the game without those languages available in those territories. And so they said they meant to go back and replace the AI translation as soon as they could, but I guess people caught them before they did that. And here they are. They did say that the image was a mistake and it should have been taken out. And they did say that they made the wrong call on the AI translation. They shouldn't have done that. In hindsight, I believe they said they would have made a different choice. You can find the official statement, I'm sure, if you Google it easily enough. So, I don't know, a couple things. I feel like this taints what the Alters has achieved. I mean, to be perfectly honest, and to lay it all out there for you, I was strongly considering the Alters for Game of the Year, like overall. And now I feel like I'm not sure if I should even consider it. I spoke recently about this podcast and also GameCritics.com, my website. And I feel like we need to take a stand against generative AI, because not only are you stealing the work from people who have learned the skills and hone their craft. I mean, AI only exists because they stole work from other artists who have never been compensated or credited. But also you're taking away work from those same people, because if you're using AI, that job is not there for a person who could be doing that job for you. So it's really killing the creative industry. I don't think there's anything good about it. I don't think there's any good use case for it. I'm really against it. And so on a recent episode, I said out loud, and I even put it in print, that Game Critics would not be covering games which feature generative AI. And to the best of my knowledge, we've been trying our best to do that. The problem is that I guess people are going to stop disclosing. I mean, if I had known the Alters had generative AI in it, it's very possible I wouldn't have played it at all. I would have been pretty salty about it, but I think I might have stayed away from it. I don't know that I would have praised it as much as I did on the show, and I don't know how I feel about it now. I think the game is good, but the killer here is that it's not good because of the AI. Like, the AI has nothing really to do with it. Like that placeholder text, like I said, I walked by it 1,000 times, never noticed it. It had zero impact on my gameplay. And as far as the translation goes, that did have an impact on those players who needed those languages. They should never have done that, and they said they shouldn't have done that, and I agree, you should never do that, because AI is not a replacement for a translator/interpreter, which is what I am, in addition to being a podcast host and a games website curator. So I feel like this whole thing is really problematic. And then also, they didn't disclose until they got caught, right? So, they didn't say anything. I don't know whether it was a mistake, whether they thought they could get away with it. Maybe they didn't think it mattered because the AI was not substantive. I don't know, but I feel like the whole thing is dirty. I feel like the whole thing is dirty now. I feel like it's difficult for me to embrace this game. And I feel like I'm feeling really mixed emotions. I feel like I kind of got suckered a little bit because there was no proper disclosure. And I'm going to have to think about this. Again, I don't think that AI has anything to do with this. And it kind of breaks my heart, because why did you even fucking bother in the first place? Everybody in the games industry knows AI is such a hot button issue right now. It is such a hot potato. Why would you even fucking bother with it? Why would you bother using it for placeholder text? Who cares? You could put it like that lorem ipsum stuff if you needed some text to throw up there and replace it later. I mean, why would you do something like that? I mean, it just really, It breaks my brain. And then it just makes me think, okay, well, clearly they were using it, whether it was in pre-production or whatever, they were going to take it out. But like, why were you using it in the first place? Like, you could have just put in like literally a piece of texture that says placeholder, and that would have been fine. And so it makes me think, what else are you not telling us, right? And that sucks because I really like 11-bit. I think they do good work, and I enjoyed this experience. I've enjoyed their previous experiences, and so now I feel like it's dirty. Like, I feel like the whole thing is just kind of sullied, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I gotta like think about this. If anybody has thoughts, ideas, feedback, I would love to get your perspective on this. And it also kind of makes me think we're going to just see more of this, right? It's like, it's so easy. It's so tempting. So for example, we got sent a review copy of Front Mission 3, the remake. It was originally, I believe, a Super Nintendo game back in the day, and maybe other platforms, I forget. But they just released a new updated version, sent us code, and I read the PR releases, and there's no mention of AI in there at all. Gave it to my reviewer to cover. It was Konstantin Koteski, who was a great writer. Hello, Konstantin, if you're listening. And he covered the game, sent in his review. Everything is all well and good. And then after I get the review copy, it turns out that people on some forums are saying, hey, wait a minute, they used actually quite a bit of AI in this game. There's numerous articles about it up now, so you can Google and find those. But basically, they redid a lot of the images, putting them through like an AI process, which isn't just like a regular upscaler, but also it kind of like reinterpreted some of the images. And I read an article, I don't remember where it was from. I want to give proper credit. I don't know. I want to say it was like from Nintendo World or something like that. I apologize for not remembering who wrote the article. Not my article, certainly, but they showed like side-by-side comparisons of how like the AI misunderstood what the image was and kind of like changed certain things. So like if you just like glanced at it, you wouldn't notice right off the bat. But when you take a closer look, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually the wrong thing. Why did it look like this? No human being would have drawn it like this. Again, so again, I'm kind of stuck, right? We got the code. I cashed in the code. My guy reviewed the piece. We have a whole review ready to go. And then all of a sudden, right before I hit the button, we find out that it's chock full of AI after I've already made an editorial statement saying that we're not going to cover games which have AI. So I wrote back to PR for Front Mission, and I'm like, yo, you guys didn't say anything about AI. And now I'm hearing all these articles saying that it is, this is what's happened. Can you please confirm, because it is our policy that we do not cover games which feature generative AI, especially not in this sense. And they haven't replied back. So they're being mum on the situation. Seems pretty clear to me like what's going on. I think anybody with a pair of eyes can see what's going on. So again, I feel like this is a problem. And if developers are going to just be quiet about it, if they're not going to disclose, if they're going to keep using it, even though it's not good, even though it's putting artists out of work, I mean, what do we do about this, folks? I really don't know what we do. I feel like this is becoming a big problem, and I don't have the answer. I mean, other than just to fucking not use it, right? It's so distasteful. I think it's so disgusting. We need to just stop using it. So I don't know. I don't know what we need to do. I don't know what I'm going to do about the alters. I don't know what I'm going to do about Front Mission 3. I guess we'll see. But this is what's going on. Something to think about. If you got thoughts, ideas, feedback, I would love to hear from you. Please let me know your take on this. All right, last bit of bad news, and then we're going to get to the main portion of the show here. It was just announced this morning that Microsoft is going to be laying off 9,000 people, and that comes after a series of previous layoffs. They laid off several thousand people in the last few months. We don't have exact numbers, but it looks like many of those layoffs are going to be coming from the game division. What's his name, that guy from Microsoft? I forget what his name is. I don't know, but he put out a statement. I looked it over. It wasn't really anything worth repeating. It was just like, positioning and strength and blah, 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 whatever. And so who knows? I mean, Microsoft has been buying a lot of stuff lately. They're already a huge company. We don't know exactly who's getting laid off at this point, although it's sad news for anybody getting laid off. So just in general, maybe this is just redundancies, or who knows what this signifies. We don't know. But bottom line, it's a tough economy. It's a tough political situation right now. And I feel real badly for anybody who gets put out of a job. So, and a lot of these folks are going to be my friends and neighbors. I live in Seattle. Microsoft is in Redmond, which is just about 20 minutes from where I live. I've been to Microsoft campus many times. I've actually met Bill Gates before. So, they're our neighbors. They're people. They're here. They are us. And so I feel very badly for those folks. Hopefully they will find other employment elsewhere, and they'll bounce back quickly. So fingers crossed for those folks. Along with that news, I just 1 second ago on Blue Sky got the rumor that people who were laid off were Also, some number of those people were working on the new Perfect Dark remake, so apparently that's DOA. Not confirmed. That may just be a rumor, but apparently whoever those folks were, I guess, are no longer there, and so therefore the game is not coming anymore. So I guess keep your ears peeled and your eyes tuned for more news on that front. Okay, that is all the housekeeping. Let's see here. What should I talk about? Well, before we get to the main portion of the show, quick heads up about the Patreon. All the costs of So Video Games, this podcast right here, all the costs of GameCritics.com as well, are coming out of my pocket. This pocket right here that you can't see, but my hand is in my pocket, I guarantee you. See, it's right there. It's not a big pocket. There's like lint in it. That's about all that's in there. So all those costs come from me, and I would invite anyone listening, or if you read the website, to chip in and help me keep this stuff running. If everybody listening or who clicks on the website would chip in just $1 a month, just one, $12 a year, $1 a month, every expense of running these places and these public services would be covered. And if you can afford it, I would super appreciate it. Also, we have just launched a brand new YouTube channel just a couple weeks ago. It's just getting off the ground. We have not pivoted into video before this point, which seems weird because we've been around for like 25, 26 years. But I don't know. What are you going to do? We're getting into it now, my friend. So if you want to go over, click us, say subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. It's GameCritics.com videos. You can find us over at YouTube. Please check that out. It's going to be mostly video reviews. We actually have a couple of interviews in the pipeline, and we're going to be posting a bunch of trailers that we think are neat. So give us a sub if you don't mind. That would be amazing. And at this point, I guess we can start the main portion of the show. Usually we kick it off with circlebacks, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not to get into all the details again right now, but just kind of to give you a quick update, let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. Only one circle back this week, and this is like a real far, in fact, it's such a far circle back that I kind of feel like I almost should put it in the main portion of the show, but we're going to call it a circle back anyway because I have played it before. It is Punch Club, coming from Lazy Bear Studios. Punch Club, the original Punch Club. This one came out, gosh, quite a while ago. Let's take a look real quick. Let's go on the Wayback Machine here. Looks like 2016, so almost 10 years ago, coming from Lazy Bear Studios. I love Lazy Bear. I've said this before. They are low-key one of the best developers out there, and they just really do not get the praise and appreciation they deserve. They do a lot of like really deep, really huge, really intricate 2D pixel-based kind of like sim type games or management type games, and they're all just really amazing. Punch Club, Punch Club 2, they did Graveyard Keeper, which I think is just like fucking an all-time classic. A couple other things that I've gotten into before, but Lazy Bear is great, and I just feel like they just do not get their props. So why am I coming to Punch Club? Well, I played Punch Club 2 recently, which I love, but like all their games, it's like enormous. It's really a large game, and I just had to take a break from it. I put it down to cover something, I forget what, and I just haven't come back to it. So in my quest to find something to play, I'm like, well, I could get back into Punch Club 2, but I'm going to do something weird and dumb, and I will instead jump over to Punch Club 1. I played it originally probably back in 2016, and it didn't click with me. But in the intervening years, they have updated and patched it quite a bit. And one of the things that they have included is the ability to... they changed the ability of how your stats work. So before you get into that, Punch Club, what is it? You play a guy in a city. He wants to be the best fighter in the world. It's not just boxing. It's also like kicking. You can do some MMA stuff or whatever. And so he wants to be the best. It's pretty simple, straightforward. He's a poor guy, lives in an apartment, has to work these crappy jobs. And so you're basically doing time management with him. How much time do you spend during the day of doing jobs? How much do you spend working out? And then when you get to the actual fighting, it's all handled automatically. So you pick the moves. You've got a little menu where you can choose from a variety of moves, and you can unlock more as you go. So like you'll have a punch and a kick and a block and a rest or something. You put them in whatever order you want, and you can mix and match, and you have to manage your life and your stamina. And then when the fight starts, you just watch. So it's passive in that sense. It really is all boiling down to how much time you've put into the various things, how much time you've been working out, how much time you've been practicing, how much you've honed your skills. And then the fights play out before you, and you win or lose, and you continue. Now, it's not just that, because there's actually a pretty wicked sense of humor in this game. There's lots of references, tons of references to like other pop culture things in this game. There's like Back to the Future references, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle references. When you go to the convenience store, you see Jay and Silent Bob standing out front. There's all sorts of stuff. There's also like a lot of political commentary. Lazy Bear has a great sense of humor. They're from Eastern Europe. I mean, they have to be. They're the only kind of developers that would make a game like this. And I love that they're kind of like sardonic edge coming through is really nice. I appreciate the writing quite a bit. Graphics are really on point. It does feel pretty basic compared to Punch Club 2. Like when you see the two side by side, you can see they took a lot of really huge steps forward with Punch Club 2. But I will say that's not necessarily to say that you shouldn't play Punch Club 1. I think that it's kind of quaint and smaller and simpler and more straightforward. So in some ways, I think it's kind of nicer because I was in the mood for something a little smaller than Punch Club 2. And Punch Club 2 is fucking deep and huge and wide and enormous. Doesn't seem like it would be, but it really is. So I've really been liking the enhanced simplicity of it. I play a little bit before bed every night, and I think that's fine. But the real selling point here is that one of the original decisions they made with Punch Club is that when you work out, your stats slowly drop over time. So if you're not doing a very strict training regimen every day, like you'll notice you're losing your gains, right? That's what the bros say, lose your gains. And so that was probably where most of the difficulty came in, because it was difficult to manage enough time towards working out while also doing the other things you need to do, earning money to buy enough food, and then also trying to do some of the side quests and stuff. So it was a challenge. They just added, well, I don't know but they added a change to that. There's a new mode. I think it's called like the lazy mode or the super easy mode or something like that, where the stats no longer drop at all. Like, so whenever you work out, you keep those gains forever, which means that the fundamental way that the game was designed has been changed. But honestly, I think it's for the better. I know a lot of people found it really difficult to deal with constantly losing gains, and it just felt like you were grinding a lot more than you needed to, which was probably the case, probably why I dropped it the first time around. But I've come back to it. I've been working out pretty diligently, got my levels like super high, and they're not dropping. So I can like go into a lot of fights feeling pretty confident right now, which means I can progress further and faster and see more of the game, which is what I want to do. I would love to roll credits on this one. So having a great time. And the developers do give you a warning. They're like, this is not how we designed the game. It's going to make it piss easy. Just so you know, we don't recommend this, but if you want it, here you go. We listen to our fans. And they did. And so thank you, Lazy Bear, for putting that in. I really appreciate it. I still think this game is hella fun. And in fact, if it wasn't for this mode, I'm not sure that I would have put as much time into it, because, life is finite and we can't grind things forever. And sometimes you got to get through something more quickly. And I love quality of life. And this feels to me like a really significant quality of life upgrade. So I'm really grateful for it. So I like it. I think it's really fun. I think it's much more playable now that your stats don't drop. And I think it's a really good look into the early days of Lazy Bear development. Again, a developer who needs a lot more praise than they've been getting. I love Lazy Bear. Every game they have put out, I think, has been a banger. So definitely check it out. You can get it for cheap. I think it was just recently on sale for something like $3 on the Switch. Perfect fit for the Switch. I'm sure it's on other platforms as well. And it's a good starting point if you're not familiar with Lazy Bear's output. So check it out. Punch Club, the original, super awesome. Really fun and worth it. All right, that was the only circle back I have for today. Let's get into the new stuff right quick here. First game is called God of Weapons. And by the way, just as a disclaimer, looking at the script, I've been given a code for everything for free for purposes of evaluation, except for Death Stranding 2, which I'll get to at the very end of the game, which I paid full cash money for because Sony hates us. Okay. Beyond that, yes, God of Weapons did get a free code. This is an indie game, clearly. I'm playing it on the Xbox X. This is a Survivors-like, Vampire Survivors-like, where you play as one of several classes of character. At the beginning of the game, you have a knight, a hunter, which looks like a Bloodborne type hunter, and a rogue or a thief type character. It's shown from like an isometric kind of a standpoint, but you can change the viewpoint to be more of an overhead, which I changed it to overhead, helped with the visibility a little bit. So it takes basically the same Survivors formula. You take your character, you have some starting weapons. I believe you have like a piece of equipment, which can give various boosts. A particular weapon, you have a couple to choose from, and they all have their various characteristics. And then there's like one other thing, like a piece of armor or something like that. I forget what it is, but you have like 3 things to choose from at the beginning of a run, and then you go into a dungeon to kill enemies, grab money, and upgrade stuff. If you've played Vampire Survivors, you know kind of what to expect, but there are a few tweaks. The number one tweak to this is that there's lots of characters to unlock. Now, I did not play this game for very long. Ended up kind of bouncing off it. I'll tell you why in a second. But there's like lots of characters. You've only got 3 to start with. But in the foyer of this castle where you start the game, I mean, it looks like there's at least like, I don't know, 10, 15 different characters. And they're kind of grayed out. I mean, I assume you have to unlock them by doing achievements or something like that. But lots to choose from, so not sure what else is there. Also, after you do a couple runs, when you come back to the foyer of the castle, there's a treasure room. And you can unlock items inside this big book. Like after you buy some currency, you go to the book. And you can unlock stuff. You don't buy it for yourself. You just buy it and then it becomes unlocked to be picked up in the dungeon. Possibly my least favorite way of doing this kind of mechanic. Really don't like when you just buy something to unlock it for the future. Not a fan. But that's not really the issue. When you go into the actual combat, you have whatever weapon like floating on your back. And then it kind of like flies around. So for example, if you have a sword and you go to the dungeon, the sword will just like fly through the air and stab enemies at random. You don't need to do anything other than move. So this is just like Vampire Survivors. And between levels, and here's like where kind of the hook comes in. Between levels, you have a treasure chest. And the treasure chest is divided up into squares, just like Diablo inventory or Resident Evil inventory or, anything like that. Or like Backpack Hero, even if you've played that one. That one's a lot of fun. So your weapon, your piece of armor, and whatever other kit you have has to fit within the squares of your chest. And between each level, you get a few more squares to make your available space bigger. So let's say, for example, and I'm just making this up, if you've got, 15 squares of the chest open from level 1, you finish level 1, get to level 2, they'll be like, here, choose 3 more squares. And you can choose, not just any square, they give you like a selection. You can't just choose wherever you want. But they'll give you like 4 or 5 options. And you pick one, and then once you've done the available squares, then you can choose from a series of random weapons, which are cycled through every level, and you can buy them if you have enough gold. So you do Vampire Survivors combat, where you're walking around, and then the weapons attack for you. Between levels, you slowly grow the size of your chest, and you got to make sure everything fits inside of there. And then you also buy more weapons if you can fit them, and then wash, rinse, repeat. Go on and so forth. There you go. So that's the basic formula in a nutshell. It's a good formula. I like doing Resident Evil inventory management. I think it's pretty fun. I think it's a good idea. There's also like, they kind of take a nod from Backpack Hero that I just mentioned a minute ago, because in Backpack Hero, which is a great game, you should check it out if you haven't played it already. You have a giant backpack that you put pieces inside, and however you arrange the pieces can have a big effect on your weapons. So, for example, you might have a sword, and it's like, oh, but if you put this next to another sword, both swords get +5. And so you have to rearrange your backpack to be able to fit things in there, mix and match. Like there'll be like a gem. Hey, this gem will give a helmet +2 if it's below the helmet. Or, oh, this gauntlet will get like +5 and an acid effect if you can put it on the right side of your backpack or something. Backpack Hero was like full of that stuff, and it was really cool. Really like Backpack Hero quite a bit. So this game is clearly following on that concept, because most of the items you get will have some kind of a condition. Like, for example, the thief will start off with a dagger, and it's like this dagger gets like a +1 or +5 for every other dagger that's touching it in the backpack or in your chest. So you've got lots of those conditions, which is basically fine. But this game kind of runs into problems like almost immediately. I'm assuming they developed it for PC, and to be honest, it works in general pretty okay with controller, but the way that you have to rearrange stuff. So just remember, the big hook of this game is like rearranging stuff in the backpack or the chest. And it's very awkward and cumbersome to do that. And it's not even just the controller. I don't think it would be solved with a mouse, because when you are repacking the chest, you can only take one thing out of the chest at a time. So you can't just like empty out the chest and then put all the pieces back. You have to like move one thing out and then rearrange the other things. And you have to like, it's so cumbersome. Like it's not fun to move that stuff around, and it should be fun because this is such a large part of the game. They just make it really awkward to move things and to flip things, and you can only rotate them like one way. You can't flip them the other way. Like, for example, like if you have an axe blade facing left, you can rotate it, but the blade is always going to be in the left. You can't flip it around and make it face the right, which sucks. And just like so many times when I was playing this game, I was like, I just want to take this shit out of the chest and move things around and then put it back in. But you can't. You can only take one thing out. And it's just so awkward. And when you try to take something else out, it doesn't automatically put the thing previously out back in. There's like lots of ways to streamline this that would make it like way more easy and way more user friendly, and they just don't do that. And it's just really awkward, and it makes it painful to interact with the chest. And the chest is like a huge part of the experience. That was a big problem. Big problem. The other big problems with God of Weapons is that, number one, the graphics look like they are prefab graphics taken from some asset library. They're really boring and dull. They look super generic. There's nothing exciting about your characters. There's nothing exciting about the enemies. There's no cool animations. There's no cool effects. Like, it's very visually boring. All of the levels I've been to were kind of just like gray dungeons. There's nothing to visually break it up. There's nothing cool about it. Like, there's no good visual identity to it. It looks very like low rent. So not a big fan of that. And also, even despite the fact that there are a selection of weapons and 3 starting characters, every run that I went on felt basically identical to every other run. It did not feel different enough. With the weapons at your disposal, like, they just don't feel different. They don't look different when you're playing them. Yeah, you see the weapons fly around. Maybe you'll have a crossbow, maybe you'll have a sword, maybe you'll have an axe, but it doesn't feel different. Like, there's no cool effects. There's no flames shooting out. There's no ice shooting out. There's no electricity. There's nothing. Like, it's just like, no matter what I chose, it just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over. So it does not feel as though the changes you make or the rearranging of the backpack that you do is worth it. And it's so fucking painful to do the backpack rearranging that you really want to get like a payoff for that. So the combat feels too samey. It does not feel different enough. Like, you're getting weapons where it's like they get like a +2 attack or a +3 attack, or armor +3 or something. Like, it's all these really minimal gains. Like, you're not getting anything crazy like all of a sudden your sword shoots fireballs or a pet dragon flies out of the sky or anything like that. Like, it's nothing exciting. It's just like your weapons are slightly more effective. You have slightly more shield. You have slightly more health. Like, it's really minimal and like negligible. Like, it's just not exciting. So I think this game has a core concept that I think is fine. It takes the real-time combat of Vampire Survivors. It takes the backpack management of Backpack Hero, kind of mashes them together with the, I don't know, I guess just like roguelike elements to it, I guess. But like, none of this is exceptional. None of this stands out. None of it is done even as well as the source material. And it's certainly not done better than that. So it just kind of feels like a mishmash that doesn't go far enough in any respect. And after like 3 or 4 runs, I'm like, okay, this is like really boring. I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. There's nothing exciting about this. It just is what it is. I mean, have I played worse games? Absolutely. Yes, I certainly have. Is this the worst thing in the world? No. Did it do psychological damage to me? No, it certainly didn't. But you know what? It's just not enough to stand out these days because the bar has been raised so high in general. So, I hate to say it, but despite like a cool starting premise and maybe a lot of potential here, God of Weapons just does not really get out of the starting gate. So there you go. God of Weapons, it's got a long way to go. Next up is a game called Date Everything. This is a visual novel. Again, I got a code from the developer for this, so thank you very much. This is as you might expect, a dating visual novel, which the hook to this game is you have these special glasses. It's presented from like first-person viewpoint with some really cool like artwork, portraits, text. I mean, it's presented very much like the standard visual novel. The hook to this game is that early in the beginning, you are a, corporate wage slave or something, and you get laid off from your job almost immediately. As soon as you get laid off, you go back to your house, and the entire game takes place inside your house. You can't leave your house. You get these glasses, special glasses, and when you put these glasses on and activate the power of the glasses, whatever object you're looking at in your house becomes a person, which has like thoughts and feelings, and you're able to interact with them and touch them, and they are able to be dated. And so literally, like, basically everything in your house, I'm talking like toilet, couch, bed, pencils, pens, your desk, lamp, rug, stairs, like literally everything in your freaking house can become a person, male or female, to date. Kind of a crazy premise, but I will say it's okay. So like from the get-go, you have to just embrace the goofiness. It is clearly not meant to be a dead serious game, which I think is totally fun. The writing in this game, I think, is great, and that's really something I'm happy to say, because visual novels, most of what you're doing is like reading. So I think the script is really quite cute. The voiceovers, every character in the game so far, except for you, not the player character, but everybody else. Oh, and by the way, you can choose to be a he, a she, or a they. So you've got that choice from the beginning, and you never really see yourself, so it's kind of doesn't really matter one way or the other. But every character in the game is fully voiced, and I have to say, every voice that I've heard so far has been pretty excellent. The voice director knows what they're doing, and the actors they've chosen are, I think, perfect fits. And the thing that's funny about this is, like, every character, they don't just look like people. They look like people that are like amalgamations of human beings with the thing that they are. So, for example, if you go click on some paper clips or something, it turns into a girl, and she is like the personification of like office supplies. And so she's got Post-its all over her body. She's got like paper clips in her hair, pencils and pens and notebooks and stuff like that. When you're on the stairs, you can click on the stairs and it becomes an older woman. And she is, I'm talking like maybe like pre-grandma phase, it looks like to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but definitely up there in years. Nothing wrong with that. Just stating a fact. And so she's got like, her purse is like in the shape of stairs, and like the angles on her clothing are like in the shape of stairs, and she's brown like the wood of the stairs. You click on your bed, and it's like this like super voluptuous woman who is kind of like plush like your bed is, with like these like flowing blankets and sheets to kind of like make up her robe. So like everybody that you talk to in this game, they're not just people. They look like what people would look like if they were also objects, I guess, which is pretty interesting. So basically, in the base game, there's 100, literally 100 characters in the game that you can bring to life and talk to and have a series of conversations with. And then you can either befriend them, you can date them with the intention of having it turn into a love relationship, or you can really not hit it off with them and you can turn it into a hate relationship. So love, hate, or friends is how it ends up with all these characters. Literally 100 characters in the game, which is like a crazy ass shitload of characters. And there's also DLC, which adds 2 more characters, and then it adds like I think a raffle or a lottery something. Also, it gives you a special shirt, which you never see, but like everybody in the game reacts to it. They're always like, "Oh my god, I love your shirt," and so it's kind of like it's almost like a joke. It's kind of funny, but anyway. Okay, so this is the starting point, right? So you're walking in your house. You can activate five things at once before your glasses run out of juice, and then you got to go to bed and restart the next day, which I think is kind of irritating. I don't like how it like runs out. I mean, what is really the point? Because all you do is go up to your bed, sleep, you wake back up and do it some more. So why make me stop and go to bed? Maybe there's a reason for it later, but I haven't seen a reason so far. It seems like an arbitrary limit, which is kind of annoying. Beyond that, I guess I'm not really sure where the game is going yet. So I've been playing this game for a couple days now, and I can't really play it for like super long stretches, and I'll tell you why in a second. But like I'm still meeting people. Like I think I've only met like 40 people so far, and I'm like, okay, dude, I've been playing this game for like, I feel like I've been playing it for a while now, and I'm curious to see like where it goes. Like, what is the story progression going to be? How like, you know, like what's happening next? It feels like I'm spending a lot of time meeting people, which is okay because there's 100 people. But at the same time, I am curious to find out like what the shape of this is going to be. How do you end it? Do you have to meet and date every single person? Do you have to do it with all 100? Do you have to do it with like 50? What is the goal? What am I shooting for? Like, I guess I'm not sure about that right now. That part of the game has not revealed itself to me. So I am curious to see what the ultimate shape of this adventure is going to be. In terms of the rest of it, so that's it. So I'm still just meeting people, and it's been like a while. I've met less than half. I don't know what's next, but I'm still just meeting like random people. I'm going through each room in the house, trying to be systematic about it. Okay, this chair, this table, this window, check all the options, check, finding all the characters as much as I can. Some of the characters are hidden. You have to like activate certain things, like maybe something will be inside a drawer, or maybe something will appear after somebody else tells you about it. That kind of a thing. There's lots of hints in the game, so you can talk to your phone. You can talk to a detective. The detective is a magnifying glass, and she'll give you some clues. So there's lots of clues. They want you to keep meeting people, but it's like 100 is like a lot. I mean, that's quite a few characters. So I guess we're just still in that phase right now. So the artwork I think is fantastic. I love the artwork. Very appealing, very cute. Everybody I've met, I mean, it's really clever. I really admire like the different ways they have incorporated these household items and made them into people. And because this is a dating sim, they have also made each person, like attractive in their own way. Like there's a variety of shapes. Like your phone is like a plus size black woman, which I appreciate. The detective is like regular size kind of white woman, and she's got like a hat and an overcoat or whatever. Like not everybody is super sexualized, although plenty of them are really sexualized, but not everybody is, right? It's like the old lady on the stairs, I mean that respectfully, is just, she's like in a, regular type of outfit. Like she's not like flashing a bunch of cleavage or anything like that. So there's a wide variety of people. And there's also like plenty of guys. So this kind of gets me to like one of my, I don't know that it's a complaint, but maybe just an observation, I guess. So like I'm a straight dude and I'm just very out and proud about that. I have no problem with queer people whatsoever. People in my family are queer. Tons of my friends are queer. All good. That's fine. But I am personally not a queer person. So when I go to search these items, you don't know ahead of time whether a clothes hanger, is that a female character or is it a male character? A hammer. Okay. I don't know. Is it going to be a male character or is it not? I mean, I can assume it's a tool, therefore men use tools, but also women use tools. Maybe it's a woman. You don't know. And so what ends up happening, or at least for me anyway, it sounds weird to say this, but I am meeting way too many male characters. And I'm like, dude, I mean, we can be bros, we can be friends, but like I have zero interest in dating a dude. So what I want to do is prioritize my playtime. And I wish there was a way to know ahead of time whether an item was going to be a male or a female. Like if you just look at it, it would be cool if they just gave you like a little gender symbol or something, or if there's a person in between, like transgender or anything in the middle, like totally fine. Androgynous, that's fine too. Just like let me know what I'm in for, so that I can choose ahead of time, just from a quality of life perspective. Just because if I'm playing, let's say for example, I've only got an hour, and I want to get some dating done because I got to get through this game because there's like a friggin' 100 characters. I want to just meet the chicks first, and then we'll see what else happens after that, right? And so what ends up happening is I keep meeting these fucking dudes, and I'm like, oh my god, because every time you initiate a conversation with an item, you have to go through like the initial, hi, who are you? What's your story? What are you about? And they're not like mega long, but sometimes I'm just like, okay, like whatever, man. I don't care. I don't want your number. I don't want to flirt with you. Can I just get back to like searching the house for something else? So I think just from a quality of life perspective, I think it would be helpful for me if I just knew ahead of time which gender an item was before I talked to it. Then I could be very effective with the time that I have to play. And that would help me personally a lot. Again, literally no problem whatsoever with guys being dateable just as well as the girls. Totally fine. There's a couple androgynous looking folks in here, which is totally fine too. I'm all good with that. Like whatever. It's fine. I'm simply talking about, I want the ability to like prioritize how I wish to play the game. You know what I mean? And we're talking 100 people. It's like a lot of people. Something else that is kind of annoying is that some of the characters inhabit like multiple objects. So for example, there's a really sassy guy who is like a light bulb or a lamp. And I first encountered him in the bedroom, my bedroom lamp. He's on the bedside table. He pops out and he's like, well, I'm not going to try to do his voice, but he's like acting super bitchy. And I'm like, okay, I don't really like you very much. So I'm thinking we're probably going to end up hating each other because you're very repellent to me. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to talk to this guy again because I just want to like focus. There's like 60 other people I haven't even met yet. I don't want to talk to the irritating guy twice. And so I go to like a completely different room and there's like a different kind of light bulb, and I click on the light bulb and it's him again. And I'm like, oh fuck. So it's this guy. I don't want to talk to you. And that ended up happening to me like I think 3 times, where like it was like something that had to do with light, and it was him like every single time. So I think that if I'm going to click on an item, before I click on an item, I wish they would say, you've met this person yet, or you haven't met this person yet, because it fucking sucks. Because you can only activate like 5 things per day before you have to go sleep. And if you click on somebody you don't mean to click, you can burn one of those uses, and then you're like talking to somebody that you don't want to talk to, especially in the early game when you haven't met everybody yet. So I think a little bit of more ability to discern who these characters are to avoid making choices that you don't want to make would just be really helpful from a quality of life issue. I think that's important. Otherwise, I really like this game a lot. I think it's funny. The voiceovers are great. The art is really attractive. Now, I will say this game is horny as fuck. It is probably the horniest game I have played in quite some time that is not an actual adults only title. So that's the thing that kind of breaks my brain a little bit. So this is not an adults only title. It is certainly recommended for older, mature gamers, because even though I don't believe there's any visually explicit material in this game, there are some dialogue exchanges which are pretty charged. I'm not going to get you any examples right here, but if you're in the Soviet Games Discord, I posted some images there of some of the dialogue I had that I thought was a little bit on the spicy side, so you can check those out there. But this game is super horny. Almost everybody you meet is super horny. There's a few who are just like, clearly they just want to be a friend, or maybe they just don't like you, like that light guy. But a lot of people are like major horny, like on Main Street for you, and you can really engage in that. And they do a lot of pretty explicit dialogue sometimes, which I'm totally fine with. I'm totally fine with. My complaint is that I am shocked that there is no adult content in this game. It is the perfect game for it, because you've got tons of guys, you've got tons of girls, you've got groups of people sometimes, you've got your androgynous or your trans presenting folks, you've got all sorts of people. There's like every flavor under the sun, and there's like still 60 people I haven't even met yet. There's like objects in here and shit, all sorts of stuff. Person looks like a rubber duck. You've got all sorts of flavors being catered to. There's a guy who's like literally a bear. That guy's in there too. All sorts of flavors for you here. And there's literally no actual visually explicit sexual content, which is like the biggest WTF. This thing is so horny. I can't believe that at no point are you going to see any skin, which just like is crazy. So I get that they want to have it on the consoles. I understand that you got to make it meet a certain standard. Understood. But you can have this on Steam and then put in like adult DLC, which is similar to other PC games I played before, where they've got like the quote unquote, like, mass consumption version, where you can just play that like normal and there's nothing spicy in it, but you pay $5, you unlock the spicy stuff, and the spicy stuff is there. Dude, there's so much potential for crazy. I'm not going to get too explicit here, but there's all sorts of potential for crazy ass shit to be happening in this game. And even if all you did was like one drawing of like when you culminated a relationship, like if you end up in a, let's say like a love relationship with a person, all you need is like one frame, one drawing of something, and you'd be like, damn, okay, good, check, good. And that would be really good motivation to like, see the whole thing through, or as much as you wanted to. Crazy. It is crazy to me that there is no sexy visuals in this game in that way. No explicit, no adult only visuals. Money left on the fucking table. Folks, developers, if you're listening to me, please do yourselves a favor, do me a favor, do the world a favor. Add some spicy DLC. Just put it on the Steam version if you want. I bet if you charge that thing for like $10, you would, like, everybody who bought this game guaranteed would kick in that extra $10 to get those scenes. It's literally money left on the table. You can't miss. You can't miss with that. I'm telling you. So anyway, despite the fact that there is a severe lack of skin when you finish these relationships, which is just, again, so insane to me. This is a really fun game. It's really fun. I think it's fun to meet these characters. A lot of the dialogue is crazy. I think the interpretation of the characters is really funny and appealing. It's just a bonkers premise. I'm just having a really good time, meeting like 5 or 10 people a day and just kind of seeing where this goes. It's really fun. It's really fun. Couple rough edges, couple things I would like to be slightly different, but overall, super strong, super strong. Recommend if you like visual novels, if you like laughing, if you like a little bit of spice in your visual novels. Who doesn't? It's good stuff. Date everything is wild, and I definitely give it a thumbs up for sure. All right, next up is Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. First off, let me give props to John over at Gaming in the Wild. He is the one who initially brought it to my attention. I mean, sort of. I got PR about this. I think I mentioned this before. I got PR about it, but because I wasn't really super sold on the original Lost in Random, I didn't pay much attention to it. But I did see John, saying that he was really enjoying this and he thought I might enjoy it too. So I gave it a shot, and he was correct. This was a real big hit for me this year. So props to John for putting this back on my plate after I had scraped it off like cold Brussels sprouts, because it's much better than cold Brussels sprouts, for real. So what is it? It's a, I don't know, semi-isometric roguelike action real time, where you control a character. I don't remember much about the first game other than I didn't really care for it that much. I think she's like I want to say she's like the evil queen from the first game, I believe. And she gets shrunk down and transported inside a world which takes place inside a cursed dice or die, I guess, as the case may be. I'm not going to get really into the story because, number one, the story doesn't really matter when it comes to the gameplay. I did not finish and did not play very much of the first game. And to be perfectly frank, I don't think they handle the story that well in this game either. It's like there are definite callbacks and connections to the first game. So I guess if you're a big fan of the original Lost in Random, a lot of this stuff probably might make a lot more sense to you, or you might find it more worthwhile. But to me, it was just a lot of, I don't know, trying to establish stuff that I didn't really know a lot about and didn't really have a lot of reason to care about. It doesn't really stand on its own in terms of story. But that's okay, because you actually don't need to know anything about the story at all to appreciate this game, because the gameplay is quite nice. Just a quick side note. Isn't it kind of funny that we can kind of mentally compartmentalize games like that? Or we can say, oh, the story is trash, but like it was so fun to play. Like, how many times or how many things can you do that with? You know, you wouldn't say like, oh, I just got a burger and the meat was disgusting, but the sauce was really good and that makes it a good burger. Or you wouldn't, watch a movie and be like, oh, the story was incomprehensible trash, but the cinematography, amazing, and that made it worthwhile. I mean, to me anyway, those things wouldn't fly. So I think it's just kind of funny that we can like completely remove one entire aspect of a game and enjoy the other parts, and that still is an okay outcome, I guess. Games are weird. Anyway, okay. So put the story stuff aside. Just forget about that. How this game plays, it's a roguelike, and it's a run-based roguelike, but there is a lot of good progression, which I think is necessary. Permanence, good in the modern roguelikes for sure. To begin the game, you have a sword, and you have a dash. You have a living die that has little arms and feet, and it goes on your back, and you can throw it for damage. And that's kind of like basically where you start. You go into the level, and you can also get one card power. So I try not to keep this really confusing. I know there's like a lot of moving parts to this, but you'll have like a card power, which looks like literally a card, and you choose that, and it goes mapped to your triangle button on PlayStation. And so it'll give you like one of, I don't know, a dozen different powers. Like it'll drop poison, or it'll shoot a sword, or it'll, I don't know, do whatever, cause a shield or something. Who knows? It has various powers. So you've got that power. As you go through each level, enemies will appear. You whack them with your sword, kill them. They'll drop various resources. And then at the end of almost every single level, you'll get a choice as to a couple of things. Sometimes you'll get resources for back in the hub, which I'll get to in a second. But more often than not, you will get something that you can use right away. And I think that's a good call. I'm seeing a lot of roguelikes these days where the developers don't really fully understand the import of making sure that each run feels different from run to run. And so sometimes you'll get, really small adjustments. Like I just mentioned in God of Weapons a few minutes ago, getting like a 0.5 damage increase doesn't feel like anything. But if you get a new poison weapon on your poison effect on your weapon, or if you get something that really changes your run, it can be pretty exciting and engaging. And in this aspect, I think Lost in Random Eternal Die really succeeds very well. Kind of like Hades, where you have a number of weapons to choose from, and there's a number of factors that you can pick up along the way. It can totally change your run. That's exactly the case here, where you might start out with a sword, excuse me, and maybe you're going to be up close, but then all of a sudden something happens. Like you'll get an energy beam that shoots off your sword, or maybe you will find something that changes the way you play. So for example, one of the things I really liked the best was you can throw your dice for damage, but in one of the runs, I got a special dice power that said, if you throw your dice and leave it where you throw it, don't retrieve it, it'll stay there and it becomes kind of a poison sprinkler. So what I ended up doing was throwing the dice, and rather than throwing it and picking it up and throwing it and picking it up for more damage, I just threw it into like a key location and then ran away. And then it just like spit poison all over the place, and people would get sick with that and die, and then I would win the area. And so it totally changed how I played. Like instead of engaging enemies over and over, I became like really like avoidant, right? And another section, just to follow up with another dice example, there was one ability that I got that said if I did not throw my dice, if I left it on my back and never threw it for damage, just holding it and using it as a backpack would randomly shoot out, I think it was like electric beams or something like that. And so that again totally changed the way I play. Instead of throwing it for damage, I just like kind of forgot that it was there, and it gave me this passive attack that I didn't have before. So I thought that was really killer. I really like that a lot. And when it comes to run variety, this game really excels, and I think that's exactly what's needed for especially an action-based roguelike. You can get away with certain different things in different types of roguelikes, like if you're doing deck building or turn-based or something like that. But if you want an action-based roguelike like this one, it's got to feel different between each run, otherwise it gets so I don't know, just like static and dry and just repetitive. You really want to stay away from that. So I think that's great. Lots of variety from run to run. Also, after a while, you unlock some weapons, and I think the weapons themselves are quite good. There's only 4, which seemed a little bit low to me, but once you get into them, there's an upgrade system where you can add different buffs to each one. So each weapon has about 4 different permutations. So, you've got 4 of each times 4, so there's quite a bit of stuff there to play with. I ended up experimenting with some of these, and again, it really changed my playstyle quite a bit. I ended up going one time with the mace, which is big and clunky, and I didn't like it very much in its basic form. I was like, it takes too long to wind up, kind of leaves me open, don't care for it. But you can get a buff for it, which turns it into a poison shooter. And in fact, you can't tell, I really like poison in this game a lot. I think it's a pretty good power. So you would charge up the mace, but instead of doing a swing, you would hit the ground, and it would make like a poison pool appear where you hit the ground. And it was a big pool. You could speed up the effect of the poison. You could increase the number of poison stacks. And so I went from trying this weapon and trying to bash people with it, which was like, okay, but it wasn't my jam, to instead not really hitting anybody at all with it, instead trying to create as many poison pools as I could to let people walk through it. So again, great example of how getting one of these powers can really fundamentally change the way you play in each run, which I think is fantastic. Really like it. Speaking of which, controls on this game are fucking crisp. They are very good. I love the controls. Feels snappy, feels responsive, feels light, feels exactly like you would want a game like this to feel. The dodge feels good. The weapons feel good. I mean, everything about it feels like it's like in your brain you think this is how it's supposed to feel. That's exactly how it feels. It's really, really good. I like it a lot. Graphics are nice. They're colorful. Kind of a Tim Burton-esque Nightmare Before Christmas kind of vibe to things. Some of the characters very much look like they could be out of Nightmare Before Christmas, like some of the villagers in Halloween Town. Uses of dark colors and some stark contrasts. I think it looks very attractive, very cute. Visual identification of things on screen in general is pretty good, so that really helps a lot. I think that's great. I think that's really great. And I just really had a good time with this. I will also say that the size of the game is small, but I don't say that as a negative at all. I think a lot of games are too bloated. And I have recently played a lot of roguelikes where it feels like they want you to devote your entire fucking life to it. Like, I don't want to get married to this game. I already have a wife who I'm married to, and I need to do other things with my life. So I want to play a game, and I'm willing to put some time in, but it's got to be reasonable, right? And I feel like the ask here is really reasonable. I think I beat the entire game in like 6 hours, and I ended up beating it twice. So if you're good at roguelikes, if you're good at action games, if you can figure out the build system pretty quickly and find a build that works for you, it's not a long game at all. And I feel like 5-6 hours is perfect for this. Like, I got in, had a good time, beat it a couple times, got out, and I wasn't tired of it. Didn't leave feeling like I was drained of all my life force. Didn't feel like I was a desiccated husk. Felt like it was really good. So I appreciate the brevity of it. I think that's great. So what's wrong with it? There's a couple things that I think need some improvement. Overall, I mean, let me just, before I say anything that's wrong with it, this is a great game. I had a great time with it. Super recommend it. It might be on my top 10 this year, maybe, possibly. I'm going to recommend it to my wife. I know she likes these kind of games as well. So like, this is like a solid recommend. Like, so just, I'm about to say some criticisms here, but don't let that dissuade you. This is something that you should be playing if you like action games or roguelikes. Okay, so where can this game improve? I think the hub of this game is neat. You can go there. There's lots of characters to talk to at first, and you kind of rescue people over the beginning hours of the game, which I think is nice. I like those moments in roguelike where you think you're in for some combat, but then it's like, oh, it's like an NPC. And not just like a shop or anything. It's like a person you meet. They've got a little story or something. And you meet like a pretty substantial number of characters. Unfortunately, once you get them back to the hub, they dry up almost immediately. They only have like a couple lines, and they don't really go further than that, which I think is a big missed opportunity. Not necessarily that I'm super invested in the story, but just that, like, getting to know some characters would get you a little bit more buy-in. If there were like side quests that they would ask of you, it would make you, feel like you want to play some more. Maybe they'd have some good unlocks or something. Now, after I had beaten the game twice and deleted it off my hard drive and moved on, somebody did inform me that there actually are side quests, which I had literally no idea about. The characters don't really tell you about them, not directly anyway. But if you go into one of the menus and look up the dictionary listing for each character, sometimes you'll notice there's a little, oh, this person needs XYZ or something, which I guess is like better than nothing. But number one, I had no idea it was even there because it looked just like, some kind of a little logbook or encyclopedia entry, which I don't care about in games generally. So I went to it once, never came back to it, thinking it was just like more lore, which I didn't give a shit about. So I think they need to surface the side quests a little bit more, make them more engaging with the characters. I think they could have done more dialogue. I think would have been good. I mean, no one can do like the Hades level of stuff because that's just like unbelievable and unreal. But they could have done more. I felt like before long, like I blinked and then everybody was just like static in the hub and it felt stale and dry and it was just kind of disappointing that there wasn't more to do. So I think they should do more side quests, integrate them more with the characters, and surface them a little bit more. I will also say that the card system is not good. So you've got your weapons. Your weapons have buffs. Those are good. You've got your dice. I think the dice has a lot of abilities that can go with it. I think that is good as well. But the cards is like it's dedicated to a whole button. And I think almost universally the cards are all non-essential. Most of the abilities I found had very little effect. They were not powerful. I found it very difficult to try to make a build to go around cards because you can't just do them whenever you want. You have to save up energy for them. It might be different if it was on a cooldown and you could do them faster, but it took a long time to save up energy for that. And then when you did the power of the cards, most of the time it was like super unimpressive. You were better off just whacking somebody with your sword or, using one of your other abilities or something. So I feel like in general, almost universally, all the cards are too weak. They feel kind of like an afterthought, and they never factored into any of my runs. If you had taken away the card system completely, just removed it from the game, it wouldn't have changed anything about how I played. It wouldn't have made the game harder. It wouldn't have made anything. So it kind of shows they're kind of superfluous in their current incarnation. I think they are not great. The only other really major complaint I have is that during some of the boss battles, I found that the bosses were frequently off screen. The camera should zoom out a little bit more because the bosses are large and you're usually trying to stay away from them. They usually got AoE attacks or they're hitting you for something. And so you're generally trying to run away from them and keep your distance until you find an opening, at which point you can either hit them with a distance weapon or rush in. But a lot of times I felt like I was taking cheap hits from the bosses because they were simply off camera. The camera was too close for how big the bosses are, and a lot of them can do a lot of damage. So you got to be kind of mindful of that. And often I was like wondering what they were doing off screen. I try to get in close. This is worse when they are below you, like towards the bottom of your screen, because when the boss is at the top or maybe even at the sides, it's a little bit less problematic because you can still kind of like angle the camera to see them a little bit. But when they are below you, the way that the camera is positioned, you are pretty far away from them if the boss is down at the bottom of the screen. And you can't see if they're shooting a laser at you, if they're throwing something at you, if they're rushing you. So I noticed that was a problem. I took a number of cheap hits pretty much in every boss battle, except for maybe the first one, because those bosses are not too large physically. But that needs to be fixed. They need to zoom the camera out and just like give us more visibility. Because if you were the character in that game, you would be able to see them at all times. And so having the camera do what it does, it feels like a little bit of a penalty to the player. Didn't care for that too much. That needs a bit of a tweak. Otherwise, I think this game is great, and in fact, I'm going to steal a little bit. I'm going to steal a point from John over at Gaming in the Wild. Sorry, John. I'll kick another $1 to your Patreon or something to make up for this. But he made a really good point that I wanted to share. I thought it was a good observation because John is a sharp guy, and I like to steal from sharp people. So he at one point talked about the upgrade system that is kind of like the bread and butter as you're going through the game, and I haven't really talked about it that much. You have kind of a like a grid in one of your menus. It's kind of shaped like a diamond roughly, and every time you pick up these abilities during each room, you can add one and fill up a square in your grid. And sometimes these will interact in different ways and they'll have different abilities, and these are the things that kind of make each thing feel different from run to run, which is great. But that's not the thing I was going to mention. The thing I was going to mention, and the thing that John brought up, was that there's only so many spaces on the grid, and it's really likely that you will fill up that grid before you get to the end of the game, which means that you're going to have to start making strategic decisions about what you keep and what you get rid of if you find more power-ups. This is not the kind of game where you can just power up infinitely like some roguelikes, and this is not a complaint. I mean, I think this is fine too, but some roguelikes let you add power and power and power and power and power. Like there's no limit to it. And so by the end, you might have like, I don't know, 17 or 18 different powers, and you're just like this rolling ball of destruction. And that's fine. It's fun. I love it. I'm totally down with that. No problem at all. but they are a little bit more measured here in Lost in Random, and there is a certain ceiling. And so when you fill up your grid, that's all there is. So if you get something else, you either have to get rid of something you already had, or you let the new thing go. And so you've got to be pretty judicious. I was finding that usually by the time I got about halfway through the third level, and there's 4 levels to a run, round about the halfway through the third level, I was usually full, and I'm like, okay, I need to be pretty cautious about what I'm doing. Which powers am I going to need? Which ones will synergize the best with the rest? And so it's not just like this infinite power ceiling. You have to be kind of careful and mindful about what you've got, because if you take the wrong thing out, then it kind of nerfs your build, or if you get the right thing in there, it makes your whole build stronger. But you've only got so many squares, and I think that's a pretty clever idea indeed. And I want to give John a thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't quite think about it the way that he had summarized it, but I think he did a good job, and I think he's entirely correct, and I agree. So I think that's a good call on the part of the developers to kind of put a power cap on that, because even though you can get really strong, you're never going to get like overly strong, like crazy OP, and so you still always have to play smart no matter what you do, which I think is great. Good choice. So overall, I like this game a lot. I completed it twice, like I just said, so I think we are totally in the green for giving an official So Video Games review, which I will do right now with a score and everything. I think Lost in Random, The Eternal Die is quite good when it comes to action roguelikes. I think it checks all the boxes it needs to. It goes above and beyond in certain other areas. It seems well considered. I think it controls really well. It's got a lot to offer. Yeah, it's not perfect, but what game is? So overall, I'm going to give this game a full, solid 8.0, and definitely like a must play if you like action games and roguelikes, or especially action roguelikes. This is certainly one that's worth your time this year. So big thumbs up. 8 out of 10 for Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. All right, next up, Death Stranding 2 on the beach. This is one that I paid full price for because we are still on Sony's shit list, so we never get codes from them ever, which is stupid. It's a stupid story. I think I've told that a couple times in the podcast. Not going to get into it now, but I did pay full price for this one, so heads up. And also, I was a sucker, and I paid for the extra bonus version where you could access the game 2 days earlier because I wanted to play it that badly, and I don't regret it. It was only like an extra $10, and I played the shit out of it for those first 2 days before everybody else did. So for me, that was a fine trade-off. Before I launch into the whole thing here, just a heads up, this game is huge, and I, at this point, am probably about 25 hours deep, and it feels like I am just barely scratching the surface of it. So this is not a comprehensive, this is not a review, just kind of a quick mention, I guess. So I guess number one, I'm playing it. If you're in the Discord, you know that I'm playing. I've been talking about it there. And if you have not been to the So Video Games Discord, come on in and join us. We're talking about Death Stranding quite a bit. People are posting pictures. We're talking about strategies and stuff like that. Discussing other things, of course, but you're always more than welcome to join if you are a listener, because you're our kind of people. So anyway, hop into the Discord. Let me know if you want an invite, and I will send one your way. Back to Death Stranding. Okay, so I'm not even sure what to even say about it. It's okay, so like I like it. It's good. It's good. Thumbs up. Essentially, it's the same thing as the original Death Stranding, which I think is fine. I love that game. One of my favorite games of all time. I've replayed Death Stranding probably more than any other game in my life, unless you count fighting games, which I don't. So I think I've probably played Death Stranding more than anything else, like in history. I think I've played it, 3 times. And that's just something that I just don't ever do. I never do that because I don't replay games. But I love bringing boxes back and forth. I love the man versus nature, the man versus landscape gameplay. I just find that so fucking compelling for some reason. So I love Death Stranding. So just know that. This is more Death Stranding. It's bigger, better, more, smoother, more. And that's fine. That's what I wanted. I wanted more Death Stranding. So we get back into the game with Sam Porter Bridges, also known as Norman Reedus, and a lot of the cast from the first game returns. And this time you start off in Mexico. I'm not going to really spend a lot of time on the story because so far there hasn't really been a lot of story. It's basically like, hey Sam, we need you to reconnect more parts of the world to the chiral network like you did in the first game. There's some BB stuff, which is the baby that's on your chest, in case you didn't know. They talk about BB a little bit. Nothing's really come of it so far. I'm not even sure where they're going with it. I don't really have a lot to comment on it. I suspect it's going to all turn out to be horseshit like it did in the first game, but who knows, right? So I'm not even going to talk about story very much because I just don't think it's really a factor. And again, getting back to the point of, aren't games weird where you can have this completely weird, non-plussing story, but still really love the game a lot because the gameplay is compelling? That's exactly the case here with Death Stranding 2. So You start off in Mexico, and it's basically like a tutorial level. There's a couple obstacles. Like there's a river that rises and falls, which is pretty cool. And there's like desert and some rocks and stuff. But overall, it's pretty easy territory. And once you make a little bit of progress, and the game kind of like gets online with other players, which is kind of one of the fundamental aspects of this game. Quick tangent, if you don't know, in Death Stranding, it's called a Strand game, which Kojima, I think, kind of came up with himself because the things you do in your game affect people in their world, and the things they do in their game affect you in your world. So, for example, if somebody builds a bridge in their world, it'll appear in your world, so you'll have access to that bridge even though you didn't build it. So that's really kind of a cool idea. Also, the paths that people take will be worn down. So maybe there's like a really rocky patch that you're having trouble traversing, but if a lot of people take that same route, all those combined feet will wear those rocks down, and the next time you come back, it'll be like a smooth trail instead of a rocky path. So that's how the Strand aspect works. I think it's really clever and brilliant. When we first discovered it in the original Death Stranding, pretty fucking mind-blowing stuff, and it's still quite cool. So you'll notice pretty quickly that Mexico becomes very easy. There's straight shots to like most of the locations you need to deliver boxes to. The obstacles go away pretty quickly. In my game anyway, like bridges appeared all over the place. There were like ladders to cross streams. There was generators all over the place. I mean, like I didn't really need to do anything. Like there was tons of stuff all there. It's just very, very easy, which is fine. I'm not bitching about it. I'm not complaining that I need everything to be super hard or anything, but I'll just say that a lot of the friction of traversing rough landscape went away quite quickly in the Mexico area. And I still kind of view it as like an extended tutorial. After you get through with that section, you go to Australia, and it's a much larger area. And I'm just scratching the surface of it now. I'm only like in the southwest corner of Australia, like 3/4 of the continent I haven't even seen or touched yet. And at this point, I think there's a few more obstacles, but still pretty easy going. And I guess that must be an intentional choice. Maybe it gets more difficult later, but I feel like I'm going to just ramble here. I don't really have an agenda here. I feel like even though I'm loving this game, playing it every minute that I can, and again, whatever negative stuff I say, I think this is a great game. I love Death Stranding as a concept. I love the idea of bringing boxes. I love transporting things back and forth. I'm playing the shit out of this game, so don't let me trick you into thinking I don't like this game, because I really, really do. But you know, I gotta point things out as I see them, and I think that maybe in this game, perhaps, or at least so far, I think there's been a little too much support from other players. I feel like rare is it the occasion where I feel like I am having an issue where I need to go solve something on my own. So, for example, I did a side quest for one of the people who was further out on the map, and that side quest was get something. I don't know, get a record that fell into a river or something like that, something random like that. And in order to get it, I had to like go to a cliff, and I had to rappel down on a rope and then cross some water with a ladder. And, you know, so that was cool. That was like pretty challenging and interesting. I had to like bring the right tools and stuff like that. And that was cool. But in general, I feel like most of the locations you can get to pretty easily. There's almost no barriers. You just kind of go from point A to point B. And I don't even mean to sound like ungrateful or anything, but I feel like almost like I'm not really conquering the landscape myself. I feel like I make maybe one trip, and then once I link these locations up to my network, it becomes just like really easy and trivial to get there. So not necessarily a complaint. I'm very curious to see how the game progresses. I'm sure it's got to get more difficult in other areas. There's going to be challenges. I know this for a fact. It's going to happen. But I feel like so far it's been, I don't know, just like a little bit too easy, a little bit too frictionless. I feel like I don't really hike over the rough terrain. I don't really climb up the cliffs. I'm not going down the ravines. I'm not doing a lot of that stuff. Maybe I'll do it like once and that's it. And it's over too soon. So I guess I feel like I want to earn my mastery of the landscape a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. I may change my tune. Like I said, I've got like more than 3/4 of the entire continent of Australia left to go. And I'm sure that's going to be a large number of hours. So who knows what's going to happen between then and now. But the graphics are amazing. Norman Reedus does a great job. He's very likable, as Norman Reedus is. You get a lot of tools, which I think is awesome. Many people have said, and I've said this myself, getting a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5 vibes out of this, where you have an open field, open area. You can approach it any way you wish. You can bring any kind of tools that you wish. Very, very similar in tone to Metal Gear Solid 5. Absolutely. So I think that's great. I love Metal Gear Solid 5. I think most people do. And I think that same idea of approach something whichever way you want in any way you want to is an excellent one. And I think it really applies here as well, even though there's much less combat. But there is combat. You can do some raiding of enemy camps and stuff, and that has a very Metal Gear Solid feel to it. Sneaking around, sniper rifles, machine guns, shotguns, turrets, all sorts of tools and gadgets and stuff you can do, which I think are all great, and I'm sure there's many more gadgets to come. I have not even begun to unlock stuff yet. Even after 25 hours, there's still tons and tons of stuff left to come, so I'm excited about that. So, I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling here, just kind of like doing a big brain dump. I really like this game a lot. I'm playing it as much as I can. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm curious to find out what's going on in terms of like the mechanical aspects, like what are the things am I going to be building? What kind of challenges will I have? What tools will I unlock? I'm curious about that. We'll see how the story goes. Although, to be frank, I don't care about the story. It could be literally anything and it wouldn't bother me because the story in the first Death Stranding was horrifically bad, nonsensical claptrap, and I'm expecting that to be the same here again. Kojima may be a genius when it comes to gameplay and mechanics. He is not a genius when it comes to script writing and characters. And that's fine. No person can be a genius at all things, and he's got more than enough genius to go around in the categories in which he has it, so fine. Although it wouldn't hurt him to get a good script writer and a good script editor. Kojima, if you're listening, I am available. Okay, so I guess that's it for now. It's great. I love it. Paid full price. I don't regret it. I bought the deluxe. I don't regret that either. I think it's just really fun, and I love bringing boxes around, and I love driving, and I love going on the choo-choo train and the monorail and stuff. So it's just great stuff. I'll report back when I've got more to say, but right now I'm still kind of just taking it all in. I'm still just kind of poking at the edges and seeing what things are and how it goes. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot here. Certainly got to be in my top 10 of the year. Absolutely. It'll be a lock. I don't know if it'll be like top 3 or anything, but like a lock for sure. The quality here is just pretty outstanding, and I'm sure it's only going to get better mechanically, at least anyway. So good stuff. That's all I've got to say for now. I'm sure you will hear me rant about this at least a couple more times before I roll credits. And there you go. Excellent, excellent. Loving Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Great stuff. All right, I was going to end the show there, but because I'm taking so friggin' long to record this episode, like a lot of stuff has happened between when I started and when I'm finishing. Last night, my son and I were watching Iron Pineapple on YouTube. He's one of the very few YouTubers who I really genuinely enjoy. I think he brings interesting games. I think he's got some interesting commentary. His skill ceiling is way higher than mine, so I admire his ability to parry. But he does not get on my nerves the way that many YouTubers do, and so I like that a lot. And I actually get quite a few game recommendations from him. He pokes around on the darker corners of Steam quite a bit, and so I find some good stuff. And that's exactly what happened last night. I want to give a shout out to a game called Burggeist, Burggeist, Burggeist. So anything I have to say about it, I've gleaned from Iron Pineapple. I have not played this game myself, although I just bought it on Steam 5 seconds ago. And you know me, I don't really play anything on Steam unless it's like an adult game. So for me to go buy something like this, it hopefully will give you the message that I thought it was pretty awesome. It looked pretty awesome. Anyway, we watched the entire clip of Iron Pineapple playing it, and we were just really impressed. My son and I were both quite impressed. You play a person who has like a double jump. Verticality plays a lot in this game. It has like really strong like eco vibes. It also has like Attack on Titan vibes. It's also got Gravity Rush vibes. It's also got tower defense. It's also got a little bit of Souls in there. I mean, it's like this giant goulash of like everything. But basically, you're this dude who can like double jump, and you get more vertical powers later. You need to save your wife. She's gone to heaven, and you need to build a tower that's tall enough to get to heaven to get her back. Okay, cool idea. Dig it. I don't know all the mechanics, but you have to build these towers. And when you build the towers, like creatures from all around the world will come in. This is like third person, like action behind the back camera. So you've got to like fend them off. If you throw stuff at them from a height, the further it drops, the more powerful it is. So there's like verticality elements there. So you're doing that. You're jumping around, double jumping, triple jumping, quadruple jumping, I believe. You're throwing stuff from high heights to kill the monsters. You're trying to build a tower. Inside the tower, NPCs appear to give you like some Dark Souls story. There's like different things that happen. It's a large map that you can explore, kind of open-wise, and you can find different abilities to improve yourself there. And there's also the Attack on Titan part comes in, where there's like a Titan that's there. It looks very much like the... Oh, what's he called? He's called like the Backpack Titan or something like that. That's not his name, but if you know Attack on Titan, you know the one I'm talking about. The one that had like, he was a quadruped, or maybe it was a girl. Could have been a girl, and she had a backpack, and it had like a fort on its back. Kind of the same thing here. There, you get this weird Titan that's holding a table in its arms, and it's running around the map. And the table is a platform that you can place guns, and so you have like guns and grappling hooks and mortars and cannons. You can put that stuff on top of the Titan, and then as you're running around dropping stuff from a high height, your Titan is running around shooting guys. He follows your directions, or they follow your directions. No idea if it's a boy or girl or whatever. Doesn't matter. And so you're kind of like building towers. You're running around. You're double jumping. You're exploring. You got this Titan that tags along with you as backup, and it shoots like all kinds of crazy cannons on this table that it's carrying. It's fucking wild, dude. It's so fucking wild. But we watched the video and we were like entranced. We were like, oh my God, this looks just fucking crazy and amazing and awesome. I literally just bought it. It was on sale for $10. $10 for a game like this is amazing. It's, I believe, a solo developer. It looks like it has lots of really amazing influences and brings something that looks genuinely unlike anything I've played in quite some time. So big shout out to Burggeist, Burggeist. It's on Steam right now. It's on sale for $10. Shout out to Iron Pineapple for bringing it to my attention, and check that out. It looks like, if you're listening to this podcast, if you right now are the kind of person listening to me talk for an hour, this is something you need to go fucking check out. Like, this is your shit. If you're still here, go check that out. Like, just check it out. Okay, there's Burggeist. One final thing to mention before I get to the closing section of the show. A lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Fascism, a lot of atrocities, a lot of violence, a lot of just terrible things. And along with that, we have a lot of rich people doing a lot of evil things with their money. The guy who's behind Spotify, apparently it just recently came out that he's putting his entire huge fortune into military-grade AI so that I guess we can find better ways of killing people effectively. I've noticed, this was again brought to my attention by, well, a couple people, but again, primarily by John over at Gaming in the Wild. Shout out to John again. But also the band Deerhoof, who I have never heard of before now, but I guess I will go check out their music. And I saw some other artists as well who said they were getting off Spotify because they don't want to support this guy who's using all his ill-gotten gains to support war machines and robots and Terminators that are going to come fucking kill us at some point. So we can't keep supporting these people. We got to like take our money out of it, stop supporting their system. So agree with that. Also, Spotify has famously underpaid artists like forever and a day. Like they get like 0.000000001 per stream or something. I don't know how anybody fucking makes money off that thing. It seems like ridiculous. Like they're basically giving their songs away for free, which is crap because as a creative person myself, I feel like we should be compensated for the things that we do and that we create. So fuck Spotify for supporting military AI. Fuck Spotify for underpaying their artists, and just fuck them in general. Fuck these rich people that do evil shit with their money. So the reason I bring this all up is because we're seeing a lot of people right now who are no longer supporting Spotify. I'm going to tell my family to stop supporting Spotify with their listening habits, and I'm taking this show off of Spotify. So I will leave it on for like maybe like a week, one more week, because I want you guys to know what happened. I don't want the show to just like vanish and you're all left in the lurch. I don't think that'd be very kind to you, the listeners. But I'm going to take it off next week. So by the time you hear this, if you're at all current, this show will no longer be on Spotify in about a week. I'm still going to be on SoundCloud and wherever else the show is at. I forget, there's a couple more places. But if you're only listening to it on Spotify, it's not going to be there anymore. So just heads up on that. Please track us down in any other venue that you wish, or you can also go to GameCritics.com and listen to it there. There's a dedicated podcast page. You can always find it there. And it's on the podcast apps through other various channels. So just heads up, fuck Spotify, fuck military AI and they're killing robots, fuck underpaying artists, and, you know, big ups to everybody who is taking themselves off of Spotify right now. Number of podcasters, me, Gaming in the Wild, the band Deerhoof, a bunch of other people are getting off Spotify. It's the thing to do, and I think it's right, so I'm going to do that as well. So one more week, and I'm taking it off Spotify, and then we're done. Please find this show in any other location, or just reach out to me. If you can't find it, reach out to me directly. Email me, hit me up on Blue Sky, Instagram, whatever. Like I will find a way to get you this podcast if there's no other way for you to get it. I will help any and all listeners who need the help. That is my promise. Okay. All right, folks. Game portion of the show is officially done, but like many people, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, folks. It's time for the TV and movie roundup. All right, first up, the wife and I are watching a show called Deli Boys, Deliboys, Deli Boys. This is a hoot. It's about a Pakistani family who started a string of convenience stores, which I guess is where the deli name comes from. And that's all fine. They get really successful, and the dad is running the whole thing, and the kids, or the two boys, the sons, are just kind of like these rich layabouts, and their lifestyles being funded by their dad. But what happens is their dad dies. This happens like in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. Not a spoiler. It's like the premise of the whole show. The dad dies, and the kids have to take over the business. And it turns out that their dad was like running all kinds of drugs and killing people and doing all sorts of illegal shit that he never told his kids about. And so they like, their eyes are opened to what their dad was up to. He had this entire like secret life that they never knew about. They get embroiled in this like gang wars and drug running, and the FBI is after him. But it's all funny. It's a comedy. It's definitely a comedy. It's pretty bloody at certain times. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of like frank discussion about stuff. But like it's great. It's great because I think the actors are wonderful. I do not know their names off the top of my head, and I don't want to look them up right now. So apologies for that. But I mean, basically everybody in this show is great. They're really good casting. And I think it's wonderful to kind of get this kind of crime drama, but seen from a different angle. Like you're getting this family who is an immigrant family to America. They're Pakistani, so they've got different values and different ideas. They sprinkle like the food and the language in there a little bit, and I think it's great. They do a lot of racial commentary as well, which I think is all really on point. And it's very funny and very good. I think we're up to episode 7 or 8 out of like, I think 10. So we're almost done with it. I don't know if there's a second season. It came out a while, so I'm not sure if there's more to it or not, but really enjoying Deli Boys so far. It's a hoot, and I'm learning a little bit, and I'm laughing a lot, and I think it's just really good stuff. Definitely good stuff. I think it's on Hulu, I believe. Beyond that, circling back to the Minecraft movie, I talked about it last week. We only watched half of it at that time. We did finish the movie, and overall it was pretty good. I gotta say, it was way better than I thought it was going to be, that's for sure. I thought it was going to be like a steaming turd that I would have to just like grit my teeth and suffer through. But no, it was actually pretty funny. I laughed a lot. I thought it was pretty clever. It goes at a breakneck pace. There's tons of references to the Minecraft game if you're familiar with Minecraft. And I am passingly familiar with it. I played it when it first came out, but it has grown so much since then. It's almost like a whole different beast. There's just way more to it than there ever was when I was playing it. So, yeah, it's great. Jack Black was fun. Jason Momoa was good. The other cast members were good. A lot of laughs. Funny, just, you know, great movie for kids especially. But the wife and I had a good time too. We laughed quite a bit, and it just was absurd and ridiculous and just really fun. So props to the Minecraft movie people. I thought it was going to be just fucking terrible, and it ended up being pretty enjoyable. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to watch it like once a week, but like thumbs up, man, for making that thing watchable for sure. Last call out this week is K-Pop Demon Hunters on Netflix. We saw the trailer for it and we were in. My wife is definitely like watching a lot of Korean content lately, so am I. I can't say that I'm big on K-pop music. I don't dislike it, but it's not like my jam. But you know, I've heard some songs that are pretty cool, and that's all fine. I'm fine with it. But this is a animated feature. I believe a lot of the same people who worked on Into the Spider-Verse were some of the artists on this one. I believe it comes from Sony, and it's about 3 K-pop girl stars who are also demon hunters by night, and they are trying to protect the world. Demons from the underworld come up, and they take the form of a K-pop boy band who kind of goes against the girl band, and they, you know, face off with musical numbers and dance. A lot of comedy. There's some cultural discussion. There's some soul searching about, you know, being a girl, about personal values, self-esteem, and also like other related issues like that. It was really quite good. I will say the music was great. We all really liked it a lot. The visuals were awesome. A lot of just like showpiece, you know, scenes and explosions and like lots of effects. And it just looked really, really visually striking. Very similar to how Into the Spider-Verse looked. So I really liked it a lot. Everybody in the family thought it was great. We had a great time from start to finish. Definitely recommend it. Good time if you're in for some, you know, popcorn movie viewing that has a lot of tunes. It's basically a musical, more or less. So, you know, be ready for like a shitload of songs. So just heads up on that. And also props to the people who made the movie, because basically the entire cast was Asian, which I think is great. I don't know necessarily that they were all Korean pop stars behind the scenes, but they did a little behind the scenes thing at the end of the movie, and they showed that, like, you know, everybody there was Asian. All the voice actors were Asian. They were all like correctly cast. And I think that's great. And like the singing was really strong. And so seeing some of those real life ladies belting it out in the microphone in the studio was pretty awesome. So yeah, I loved it. K-Pop Demon Hunters is really cool. I think it's great. Definitely check that one out for sure. And folks, that's a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave reviews, share it on social media, but most important of all, please recommend this show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, would love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up at sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on social media, on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also hit me up in the Soviet Games Discord, which is totally free of charge. Just drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we'll get you on board to continue the conversation. And finally, if you would like to support the show and help the cost of running this podcast and also GameCritics.com, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and a euro helps that much more. Folks, that's going to do it for episode 444. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and we'll see you next week.